Hello, this is Yuan. In this video, we're going to talk about the first lab you are going to do. You're going to build 7 chasing LEDs with a button to control the blinking direction. We start simulation now. When the button is pushed, the LED starts blinking from the right to the left. When the button is released, the blinking direction is changed. This is quite simple. Now let's look at this example. This is a blinking project designed to teach you about symbol inputs and outputs of Arduino. This circuit is going to show you how to connect a small push button and a set of LEDs to the Arduino board, and how you can control the LEDs through this push button here. We have a push button connect to the pin number 13, and we have these two LEDs connect to the pin 2 and pin 3. When I press the button, you can see these two LEDs start blinking, and you can see here this green point on the corner of this button is to show that the button has been pressed down. And when I click the button again, the green point disappears, which means your button has been released, and you can see the LED here is stopped to blinking. And this is a very simple circuit, allows you to control the behavior of these two LEDs from this button. Now let's look at the code that we need to do this. Here the first thing. It's a very good idea to start by commenting your code. In Arduino, you just either use // for single line comments or a /* for multi-line comments. We call this first example for Lab1 and start having fun. At the beginning of the code, we have this line. This line to say int LED1 equals 2. So this creates a constant called LED1 that contains the value 2. This is actually a very clever technique that allows us to give a special name to the pin numbers. So throughout the code, we don't have to use numbers, but we can use the LED1 to remember the particular pin that is associated with the LED1. And you can see here we also define the constant for LED2 and the push button. All the Arduino programs have to have two methods in them. The first one is void setup, and which looks like that, and the second one is void loop. They can be empty if you want, but it has to be there. Let's look at the setup here, which run only once at the beginning of the program. What this line doing here is to allow the Arduino to communicate with computer via serial. We will cover this a little bit later with more detail. Basically, it allows us to send information to the computer terminal. Let's see the instruction pin mode. Pin mode basically tells Arduino that we want to make sure the pin LED1 and LED2 are all configured as output. Then we have pin mode push button as input, which used to specify that pin 13, which is connected to the button, and we want to make sure that this is an input and we can read from it. Now let's look at this loop section. And this loop section in your code run over and over again as long as the board is powered on. And we create a variable called button state at first, and it equals to the digital read button push button. And basically what this does is to read the state of the pin connected to the push button and returns a value high or low depending on the fact that the button is pressed or released. And we can print the button state on the serial monitor. Then we're going to use a very clever statement called if, which is very important whenever you write some code, because the if statement allows you to make a decision. In this project, we ask Arduino if the button state equals high, and then we do something. We use the curly brackets to group lines of code together. And you can see that this if statement is followed by a condition that needs to be verified. Then we use the curly brackets to specify which lines of code needs to be executed when the condition is true. In this case, button state equals to high, which means if the button is pressed, we follow that with some digital reference. And this is used to turn on and turn off the LEDs to do the blinking stuff. And we have the delay function here, which is a delay of 200 milliseconds, which is used to control the blinking rate of the two LEDs. After that, we have a statement called else, allows you to basically create another road in your Arduino code. If something is true, we run this piece of code, and else say if the condition is not true, we run this piece of code. And so you can have two different paths of your code to run the program, depending on the condition is true or false. In this project, when the button is released, then we turn off these two LEDs. So this is all the code that we need to do this behavior. When we finish the code, click here, compile and restart simulation. You can see it's successfully compiled. And this time we open the serial simulator, serial monitor. Here, we can here. And when we press the button, you can see the LED start blinking. And the 1 here means the button state equals 1. You remember the thing we print on the serial monitor? Yes, and when we click the button again, you can see, no, click again, which the green point is disappear, which means the button is released and the two LEDs stop blinking, and the button stays equal to 0 now. Okay, let me remind you the code inside the loop statements will run over and over again, so as you can see the blinking pattern is executed. Arduino reads the input, check if it's true or false, and depending on that, decide which behavior to implement, and then loops back to the beginning. And alright, that is our first example. Hope you enjoy it and start your first lab. And again, if you have any comments on our videos, labs, and website, please let me know. And thank you for watching.